Greetings and welcome, Tauran warriors, to another episode of Let's Play Fallen Haven. Alright, let's finishing off Cannibal. Shouldn't take too long. Alright, where did we leave off? 2 tanks, 5 squads, 1 ranger, 1 LAV. That's nothing. Alright, can't destroy any buildings, and I do have to destroy all the laser turrets. It's gonna take a little bit of maneuvering. Now, after I recorded my last set of this series, I got a little bit of advice on the makeup of my army for attacks and all that. With some points I'm sort of in agreement with. For instance, I am heavily relying on the Shogs. Now, the Shogs are a fantastic unit, don't get me wrong, but they are not the end-all and be-all of this army, of course. Neither is the Mega Tank, for instance. Because for comparison, for instance, the Shog has about the same armor value as a regular tank. The only real advantage the Shog has is basically its ability to lob fire, rather than just needing a direct firing path. Which is what I'm kind of relying on, but since I'm mostly fighting gunships anyway, it's only really useful in limited circumstances. I was also, for instance, advised to not bother with the flyers anymore and just instead use hover tanks, because they do have a fairly powerful main gun. The only problem with that is that the main gun of the hover tank is always in range of any of the laser turrets. Now, that in itself is not immediately a problem, but it does kind of mean that I need to move my hover tanks very close towards the enemy, at which point they become vulnerable to pretty much anything in range. Now, laser turrets are usually not without companions, so I only ever usually get one shot with the hover tanks, which is why I prefer to use weapons that have way longer range to take out the main turrets, unless I am certain that the turrets are isolated. And that's kind of the downfall for the hover tank for me. It's very powerful early game, for sure. Its main gun can take out a turret in one shot if it hits. And that's another point. If it hits. Now, the accuracy of guns does go up as they get closer to the target rather than always shooting at maximum range. Which is understandable, although for obvious reasons some weapons you can't really do that with. Alright, let's focus on actually getting something done here. Let's see where I leave off. You have both fired, you are done. The mega tanks can move forward. Let's see, your range is insufficient. Alright, so just move over there then. Since we are no longer under the constraints of anything particularly dangerous. So I was gonna take at least some of the advice and add a few tanks to the makeup of my attack force. This person also laid out a potentially makeup of what vehicles I should put on my transports, which was basically a balanced loadout. Which, you know, that certainly has its advantages. It does mean you can react to situations a little bit more easily in some circumstances. The reason why I picked my loadout as it is mostly because I want to have 1 frontline dropship and 2 flanking ships, which requires a little bit different tactics, whereas the flanking ships need a little bit more ranged firepower, whereas the main dropship basically just needs to have very strong armor and a reason for them to attack. Now, that's partially why I have the artillery in that dropship, because the enemy will always go for the easy kill, if it can. which it believes is the dropship. Now, it is wrong in that regard, of course, but can't really disabuse it of the notion, okay? Alright, let's just focus on actually getting stuff killed. Can't quite get my artillery within range, but even approximate damage is still damage, so we'll make do. This one cannot get in range at all. Yeah, that's fine. We'll just move it as far as it can go. And I think we cleaned up everything back here. I mean, there was nothing really left that could challenge me directly, so just move out. I do wish my shocks would have a little bit better accuracy. Alright, well, let's just get closer. These all have gone. Alright, let's end the turn. Let's get the enemy closer. That was it. That's almost pitiful in its execution. Alright. On a side note, it was also explained to me why it is that the enemy always managed to get units into a province after they reconquer it that they couldn't possibly have brought along. And that's essentially a means of making the AI be a threat to us at a certain level in the game. Or any level in the game, really. Because the AI is not smart enough to be able to build defenses capable of holding me off. As it is, it therefore needs to cheat. Now, it is technically not a cheat because it's programmed into the game, but yeah, if it has to resort to those kind of tactics to hold me off, I consider that cheating. It's a fair cheat, but it's still a cheat. I mean, I don't get to make any units for free. So I don't feel the enemy should be able to. But that is my opinion. You may differ on that. I will admit it would probably make this game much less challenging if the enemy was able to do what it is supposedly able to do. Alright, let's see. How close do I have to get? Fair bit. See, if I had to do that with a hover tank, for one thing, the hover tank doesn't have anywhere near the action points of a flyer. It would need to get to at least here, which would mean if it missed, it would get shot at anyway. Which is why I like the flyers. Now, granted, flyers don't have the armor potential of anything else, of my regular units for the most part, so they are somewhat vulnerable. But then again, that's why I use them as snipers. They're not intended to take the full brunt of any damage. And one other feature that I had not used yet, basically I had not been looking at the armor of my enemies, which I can do by holding control. Which would have been useful if I wanted to know exactly how much firepower I needed, but well. What's done is done, I can't change that back now. So let's just get within range. And see about killing whatever we can. That tank is being stubborn. Anything else would have come in already. Now, I'm not supposed to kill any buildings, but a single shot of my shock will not kill anything. It's just out of range. Alright, let's finish off these turrets. Alright, that's fine. Alright, let's mega tank this place up. Let's see, that's 5 more laser towers, right? Well, just these 4. This one doesn't really count. And if I have to kill it, I can do that easily, because it can't shoot back. It's just kinda annoying that these units are refusing to move. Alright, you are damaged, I'll leave you outside. Alright, let's see if this triggers a reaction. Well, it does, which is good. There goes that tank. So just 1 LAV and 4 squads. The squads are staying put, which I think is actually a wise move on their part. Alright. Alright, this should be done momentarily. No line of fire. That is annoying, but not the end of the world. Right. I'm trying to be very careful because like these buildings are just a little bit too easily destroyed. Alright, let's focus on getting this stuff destroyed. And let's see, 3 more spaces. Right, that takes care of that.
Mission camera successful. Congratulations. Your reserve has increased by 5,000 credits.
Sweet. Right. All the back access to my territory has been completely cut off. It's awesome. Now, it is still possible, of course, that the enemy will try a long-range strike, which I can't predict. So I do have to be a little bit careful about that. But other than that, I think we're doing quite well. Alright, let's have a look at our new province. Alright, so let's start loading up our stuff. Which is already nicely leveled up. Alright, let's first repair everything. Now, I intend to replace some of the shops with tanks, just to balance stuff out a bit. Let's see, that is... never mind, this brought the flyers out of this one, that's fine. Now, if I've remembered correctly, I can't completely fill this up because I was a bit rushed in getting this ready, so... Right, so there's still room for 3 shogs, so... Right, so now this one is full, as loaded out. This one still needs 2 more shogs, I guess. But I don't have any more, so it will not. Alright, let's repair the holes in the wall. Now this is a fairly small map, so it should be easy enough to defend with some artillery, as well as some tanks. It has everything it needs, except for refineries and stuff. So let's get that going. Because this is a very good province to hold. Right. But we'll have to leave it here for this episode. Thank you all for watching. See you all next time.